today? Saturday, I think it's the 18th. My watch is really funny. I don't know if you can tell. It's always a day ahead, but it skips a day at a really weird point in the day, so I never really know if I'm on the right day or if I'm one day ahead or one day behind. But anyways, we are doing a backyard garden tour this morning for Garden Tour Saturday, and it is freezing outside. We had summer-like temperatures for at least a couple of weeks, and suddenly the temperatures dropped. I came outside wearing a thin long sleeve shirt and I froze my bottom very quickly, so I went in and put on a sweater. I actually put away my winter clothing and took it back out because I am freezing. I've had 2 cups of tea today and I am still freezing. I thought about having another cup of tea. Anyways, let's see what the backyard vegetable garden is looking like in early May. It is 10 o'clock in the morning and let's check it out. You're seeing my apple tree right in front of you before we flip around. This is my backyard vegetable garden. And if you're new here, I am in Canada on Vancouver Island. And before we get too much into the vegetable garden, I just want to say I participate in Grandma Sandy's Garden Tour Saturday collaboration every Saturday before I forget. And she's the host of Garden Tour Saturday. And the other hosts are Suffolk Susie in New York on Long Island and Patricia and Cube in Southern United States and Barb Daly Rural Life in Washington State. So let's get back to the garden. I have done some changes to the garden and it's probably grown a fair bit since you guys have last seen it. You might remember I had a kale jungle here. Well, let me tell you, it was a difficult decision, but I decided to, mow down without a lawnmower my kale. I still have a lot of kale. And you see, I have all this kale blooming, and this whole huge area where you see dirt was all kale. There's more kale over here. And although I've been eating a ton of kale, as well as my other lettuces and greens and onions and flowers and all kinds of things, I have lots of plants to plant for the summer. And I was running out of space. So unfortunately, good morning, G Diaz 2485, greetings. I decided to mow down the kale, and this is where it ended up. As much as I love flowers and kale plants, and I eat them all the time, I had too much. That was my lesson learned from this season. I planted a kale forest and it was too much for one person. And no, I didn't give it away this time because I've learned kale is not a popular plant. Not compared to my apples I give away, my peaches, those kinds of things. People go crazy for free food, but kale is not one of those plants. So I will appreciate my kale and not push it on other people. So, back to the garden. Now we have free space in here, and you guys didn't even know I had pea plants growing in here because it was such a jungle. But these are pea plants I planted really early. Do I have a lot of butterflies? I have some butterflies. I wouldn't say a lot, but they do come and go here and there. There's blue ones, white ones, and red ones that we typically get. We don't get orange very often, but blue, red, and white are common here. And these are my little baby pea plants. I do have bigger ones, but these ones were overcrowded in the kale, and now they have room to grow and they can see the light once again. They're growing on these little trellises. But my bigger pea plants, let's take a look at those. I've got them in different places. There's one here growing very diagonally, and it's mixed in with a columbine that seems to have planted itself. and some more pea plants at the back, and there is one little lavender pea flower. So exciting. And let's check out some more pea plants in the garden. Hello, Irani. I'm probably saying your name wrong, but good morning, good afternoon, evening, wherever you are. And I just spotted a plant casualty. Let's show you. I did a lot of planting, and I am wondering what happened here. This was a squash plant, and I have a feeling a bird or something got into it, because check this out. It's broken. Somebody totally broke this out and uprooted it. Now, I don't have a dog anymore. I had a golden retriever for 10 years, and he passed away almost 4 months ago. There are no dogs to blame for this. There have been a lot of birds in my garden. I'm not saying a bird did this, but I do think there's a high chance the crows have been going bananas in my garden. I don't know why. And I don't know if they did this, but somebody did, and it definitely wasn't me. So there is a culprit out here. Do I sell the things you grow? I have never sold any of my garden produce. I give it away. If you watch some of my older videos, last summer I probably harvested about 500 apples from, I'll show you the trees. This tree here, this is a 5 variety apple tree, and it's gone bananas. Once again, there are so many apples on here. See a better picture of the apples. They are here, there, and everywhere between the foliage, but my own estimations is actually I'm going to have more apples this year than last year, and I had about 500. But check this out. This tree is another apple tree. I have 2 of them. This is tall and short, and there are so many apples here. This is bananas. Like, look at this one here. Here and up here and more over here. This tree had thousands of flowers, and I hate to say this, I think most of them were pollinated. I'm going to say like 98% probably got pollinated, which is good and bad. I will be thinning this apple tree out. There is no question about that. I did it last season, and I need to go even heavier. All of this you see is going to be an apple. This is absolutely bananas. I cannot believe how many apples are on this tree. They are just everywhere. Like, this is absolutely nutty how many apples are growing here. And I know that Mother Nature will naturally thin out fruit trees. On Vancouver Island in June, we get a lot of wind, and a lot of the fruit will fall off. But usually it's not enough. I usually still have to go through my garden and thin it out some more, because otherwise the apples will be too small. I'm gonna guess we're gonna harvest like 700 to 1,000 this year, which is absolutely bananas. Cannot believe it. But let's get back to the veggie garden here. So we have a culprit who has clearly killed a squash plant. I have a lot of squash, and hopefully they didn't hit them all, because I planted a whole bunch of my squash from milk jugs. And what was my dog's name that passed? His name was Zipper. He had a lot of nicknames. His real name was Zipper. He was called Zipperman. He was my garden supervisor. Little Man. I had lots of nicknames for him, but his real name was Zipper because he used to pull on people's zippers as a puppy. And he outgrew the behavior, but that's how he got his name, as Zipperman. So, check out my tomato plants. These were started in my indoor food garden, and I got a lot of comments and in real life and on YouTube about planting tomatoes in April outside on Vancouver Island. I evicted my tomato plants very early because I needed space, and I didn't want them in my house anymore. They were too big and taking up too much space, and a lot of them died. I put about 10 to 15 outside, and I only got about 5 or 6 that survived, but I don't care. I have more growing in milk jugs, and the ones that survived are doing well, so no complaints. There's one here. I finally put the cages around them, getting ready. There's a tiny one here. Now this one, I actually did grow this in a milk jug. Whoa, 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 here we are. And it's small. Doing well out here. I only planted it less than a week ago. Oopsie daisies. And it is thriving outside. Oh, the camera doesn't want to focus now. We're playing that game again. So I don't think it's going to have any trouble out here. It is now after the May long weekend, which is typical in the Pacific Northwest. Most of the time we plant tomatoes and hot weather crops after the May long weekend. Or I think it's this weekend. I'm a little ahead of myself. I think it's this weekend. We have, I think it's called May Day here. That might be a Canadian thing, and it's a holiday. It's a statutory holiday. And we often plant our hot weather crops after the May Day weekend. So I'm just like a little bit ahead, but I did start a month ahead. And yeah, my plants that survived are doing well. I have some marigolds thrown in that were grown in the house. They are blooming. This tomato plant has a flower. I had no idea, but I might pick it off actually. Check it out. It is starting to flower. It seems a bit early, but it's actually pretty healthy, so I'm not sure if I should pluck it or keep it. I mean, May is early for a flower on a tomato plant, and it could grow a lot more before it flowers. So it might be the right thing to do to pluck it off, but overall it's pretty healthy. But I haven't showed you my healthiest one yet. We have 2 more tomato plants to check out. This isn't the healthiest one, but I thought I would check it out anyways, or maybe 3 more, I can't remember. It's got a weird lean to it, but it is growing okay. Kind of a strange character on this plant. And back to here, we're gonna shimmy over to some more tomato plants. We've got all kinds of unique things happening in this garden. Here's another plant. This is the healthiest one, but this one is growing well. So much new growth, and it's very bushy, this one. I'm not sure why it's so bushy. These are supposed to all be the same variety, so we'll see about that. And here is my healthiest tomato plant. It is on fire with growth out here. So much new growth in the last week or 2. It is just putting out growth like nobody's business. And check out the cabbage. This was my first time ever growing cabbage, like balls of cabbage in the garden. Even though I've gardened for 10 years, I never tried growing cabbage before, and look at it. It is growing bananas. Crazy town right here. So exciting. And my peas. These peas are on fire with growth. Finally, it's so late for them. This is a variegated pea. So beautiful. And look at the flower. It is fuchsia colored. I've never seen a pea flower like this. So cool. What is my favorite vegetable to eat? Whoa, that is a very good question. I like so many, but if we're going with vegetables that I eat the most often, I'm gonna go with something very boring and say lettuce. I eat a ton of lettuce. I eat kale, a fair bit of kale, but in terms of like favorites, I love cucumbers, but only homegrown. I'm gonna tell you, should I tell you? I may or may not tell you a story about cucumbers that I ate that may have ended me in the hospital. I'm not sure if that's why I ended up in the hospital, but it might have been the culprit of ending up there. What's my favorite vegetable? So overall, I would say lettuce, but I love a lot of vegetables. I wouldn't consider myself a vegetable person, but I do like vegetables. So, what else do we have? We have so much going on. In my Plant With Me video, we planted 160 onion bulbs, and I had already planted onions previously. So check out the abundance of onions coming up now. They're absolutely everywhere. I also interplanted them with my potatoes. Like, check this out. This is the potato patch. Like, it is going bananas. Let's give you a size comparison. Can you see? Oh, you can't really see how tall it is, but it's pretty tall. Like, my knees are here. I'm gonna say it's about 2.5 feet tall, the plants already. Like, they are just on fire with growth. And I actually planted onions right in the midst of the potatoes. Like, I'm trying to show you through the foliage here. There are lots of onions planted amongst the potatoes here. Now that is a full-on garden experiment. I have never interplanted onions and potatoes. They're both root crops. So how this will go is anybody's best guess, but hopefully they'll both do well. And they seem to be doing well. And something I'm trying out more so this season than other seasons is kind of a square foot gardening approach to the garden, where I plant a whole bunch of different species really close together on purpose. And there are multiple reasons for that. One is water retention and mulching. I feel like if one plant, say the potato plant, shades the onion plant a little bit underneath, that the water retention will be better and the weed suppression will be better. I don't know if that's going to work out, but I'm trying it all over the garden with squashes and all kinds of things. So checking out over here, whoa, this camera. These are more onions and garlics. I also have about 70 cloves of garlic in this garden. And check out this tea. It is so beautiful. It is purple, my favorite color. I'm actually going to do, for anyone who's been around my channel for a little while, I love doing an edible flowers taste test. I have lots of edible flowers in the garden. And while I was thinking of doing one today, I think I'm going to hold off because I have several flowers now that I've never eaten that are just starting to bloom. So if you come back to this channel, probably in a few days, maybe a week, there will be another edible flowers taste test. And this will probably be one of the specimens that I do a taste test on. I'm so excited to try it. Many vegetable flowers are edible. There's other ornamental flowers that are edible, but vegetable flowers in particular, from all of my research, most of them are edible, which is super exciting. And let's turn around this way. There are more cabbages here. At the back, we have a squash plant that has not been eaten by anyone. That is very nice. Another cabbage. Lots of crocosmia flowers by my Chicago hardy fig tree. It just has a couple figs on it. This tree is about 4 years old. And where are the figs? They seem to have disappeared now. Can't even see them. Maybe they're hiding in the foliage, but there were two on here. There's one. And I'm not sure where the other one has gone, but it's here somewhere. And I have to show you my columbine flowers. Check this out. Blooming right beside the fig tree. These were transplanted last season. And I did some research on columbine flowers, and I was quite interested to know if they are actually edible. Now, when I research flowers to find out if they are edible so I can taste test them, I look at multiple sources of information. I do not trust a single source because you know, you're experimenting with your health essentially. And what I learned about columbines, and the reason I will never taste test them, is because multiple sources give me different information. Some of them are saying they are edible and some of them saying they're very toxic. So I will not taste test the columbines, but it is interesting to see that different sources actually find them edible versus inedible. We've got some crocosmias growing with garlic here, lots of garlic. I've got lots of sunflower volunteers this season from my sunflowers. I didn't plant them, but they're everywhere. My baby little marigolds are blooming. And there are squashes here, there, and everywhere. And it looks like most of them haven't been eaten. These were all grown in milk jugs, as well as my corn plants. These are all corns, sweet corn, that I sort of planted between the onions and the potatoes. And if we come into the garden, you can see my kale forest is blooming. I have mint and raspberries in the middle of my garden. This is all either spearmint or peppermint. Very strong and flavorful and minty. And these are raspberries. And they are putting on lots of growth. You can see chives right behind them blooming. And down here, these are my turnips. They are growing really close together. And I need to do some more research on turnips. This is my first time ever growing them. And I'm not actually sure if they're supposed to be thinned or the proper technique for growing them. I haven't researched it. If anybody knows anything about growing turnips, leave me your tips below, whether it is thinning them, not thinning them, when to harvest them. I'm interested to learn more about turnips because I have never actually grown them. My garden is huge. I guess it's a matter of perspective. It is on the larger side, but it's not huge in my opinion. It actually feels a little small, but it's all perspective. It could be huge to some people and small to others. So yeah, these are my radishes and lots of kale in this forest here. And carrots. I have to show these for Miss Grandma Sandy. My carrots from last season, which I should probably pull out soon. But I had a surprise planned for Grandma Sandy actually. If she shows up, I have to research it first. But I was curious to know if carrot flowers were edible. And if they are, I'm doing a taste test just for her because she is obsessed with carrot flowers in her garden. So I got to research it first. But most likely, I'm guessing they're edible and I will probably do a taste test later in this season. Let's check out my greens, some of my lettuces. Here we have my beautiful looking lettuces. I have been eating off of these. And when I cut them, I don't take the whole head. I just take selected leaves. I take some scissors out and I just harvest individual leaves and then the lettuce grows back. Kind of a nice thing we've got going on. We have some giant mustard greens looking beautiful. There's lots of them here. Look at the color. It is so pretty on these giant mustard greens. The bigger one is really easy to see. And my honeyberries are putting on lots of growth. Don't know if the flowers got pollinated. I can't tell if there's actually... Oh! There are berries on the honeyberry bushes. I wonder if they're ripe. Can you guys see this? Check it out. These are my hascap or honeyberries. And there are a couple of them in there. They're looking either ripe or almost ripe. I'll show you the tag for these berries. This is what they are. How many honeyberries you need? A male and a female. I have at least 3 bushes in this garden. And let's do a taste test. I don't know that they're ripe yet, but hold on. This is what they look like. This is a honeyberry. If you've never seen it, different than a blueberry. These grow long instead of round. And we're gonna do a little taste test. Not sure if this is fully ripe. I have eaten them 1 or 2 seasons before, but let's take a taste. It is juicy and soft, but I do feel like it could ripen some more. But that being said, I'm going to go ahead and eat all the blue ones, or some of them, because I have a lot of birds this season, more than I've ever had in this garden, and I am worried the birds might eat them. I haven't seen them trying to eat them, but you never know. So we're going to eat a few more. And now that I check it out, there are more on here. Although these ones are tiny, so I don't know. Maybe I'll pick this bigger one here. See if that one tastes any different. It's slightly tart. I remember them being sweeter in previous seasons, but they're still good. Could be slightly in need of a tiny bit more ripening, but not bad. One more, just for fun. Let's have another little snack. Yeah, maybe that is the ripeness that they are. I don't really remember. I only had them a couple times in previous seasons, but overall, very good. Good blueberry alternative. Let's turn around again. That's another honeyberry bush there. And another one over here. Oh, there's more over here. So I will have more to harvest if the birds don't eat them. I just spilled my water bottle. Oh well. And let's check out some more stuff going on. We have strawberries in here. And it looks like these guys probably got pollinated. And there are more onions growing in here. I've been cutting off these ones, the greens, and eating them in my salads. Very delicious. And this is my ultimate favorite lettuce right here. So beautiful and colorful. It looks like a painter painted it. So pretty. And we have chive. I have finally started eating my chive monster plants. There are so many of them here. And we have lettuces, more cabbage, more garlic. And I almost forgot to show you one of my favorite plants right now. We've looked at the tomato, but I missed showing you one of its companion plants. Check this out. We have a variegated nasturtium. Absolutely gorgeous. I am so excited. Last year, I really wanted to plant nasturtiums, but I made that decision too late in the season, and every local store was sold out of nasturtium seeds. Every box store was sold out, and I didn't feel like ordering them online again. So when I came to December and I made my seed orders, I went crazy with nasturtium seeds, and I'm gonna have so many this season. So exciting. And now we're going to take a little walk and check out my little memorial garden that I made for my dog who passed away. Check this out. I am shocked by this. These are beans. And I didn't water this container for a very, very long time. I just sort of forgot it and neglected it, and even forgot I planted in it. And there are fresh bean sprouts. So that is super exciting. Sunflowers seeded themselves in this grow bag. Some lettuces in a container here. And it looks like there's a bird. I think it's in this tree joining in on the tour. Oh, right at the top. He's chirping. Chirp, chirp, chirp. There you are, little birdie. Singing in the rain. What a glorious feeling to be singing in the rain. It just started raining. And in previous years, I used to really dislike the rain, living in the Pacific Northwest my whole life. It can be depressing at the times when you have so much rain, but I love the rain now because with all the wildfires and droughts we've had in the last few years, it is so needed, and the garden is so dry. And the plants, check out my cherry tree. It's been raining on and off since yesterday. And the growth this tree has put out, I feel like in the last, I'm not even gonna say 24 hours, but it has like exploded with growth. All this fresh green is so beautiful. And it is loaded with cherries. It has never had this many cherries on it before. It's like everywhere there are cherries on this tree. I mean, there is a chance the birds will eat many of them, but there are everywhere. So hopefully there are lots of cherries, but that's never a guarantee. And this is my little memorial garden for Mr. Supervisor who passed. This was a stepping stone from the neighbor and his old ball, and these are cabbages planted. I planted a bunch of plants that he would have loved if he was alive. He used to eat my strawberries, maul my kale and broccoli plants. He would eat beefsteak tomatoes and cherry tomatoes. He loved the vegetable garden and the kale. So this was for him in his memory. There are strawberry plants. They are flowering, some of them. Where are we? Flowers are here. Kale is starting to go to flower. The ferns, he loved ferns on his strolls. And some palm trees. And I call it the Circle of Life garden because of all the circular rocks here. And because his ashes, about 40% of his ashes are in this little garden. So that is why I call it the Circle of Life garden right here. And I do have another garden surprise, but we're going to save that for a future, whether it's a live stream or an edited video, I'm not sure. It's one of my big garden surprises that I've been keeping. But for now, as much as I love the rain, I'm going to warm up in the house, have another cup of tea maybe. And that's all for today's garden tour. Thank you for joining me wherever you are in the world. And I hope you have a lovely day, evening, or night. Bye-bye.